Hi students, so this is the third part of our solving equations notes. So we'll finish up all of those examples finally. This time we are doing full-blown multi-step equations with variables on both sides of the equal sign. So just to remind you, these are the 6 steps that we'll need when solving equations. For this last set of notes, we will use all of the steps. Maybe not with each equation, but we will. So the step that we haven't used yet is step 3. So you'll see what happens when we get to that step. But what that step means is now we'll have variable terms on both sides of the equal sign, so we get to choose which side we would like to move them all to. And whenever we move a variable term from one side to the other, we're going to add or subtract it, just like when we move a constant from one side to the other. So let's try a few examples. All right, example 6. So step 1 says distribute if we have parentheses. We don't. Step 2 says to combine like terms on each side of the equal sign. So if I look at the left, I've got these two terms. I've got a variable term and a constant. Those aren't like, so I don't have to do any more simplifying on the left side. On the right side, I've got a variable term and a constant. Once again, those are not like, so I can't combine them. So my left and right sides are both simplified. Now we'll go on to step 3. Step 3 says move all your variable terms to one side. It's completely up to you which side you'd like to move them to. I know a lot of students like to always have their variables on the left. As you get better at solving equations, you might find that it might be more beneficial depending on the type of equation you have to move your variables to the right. But that's totally up to you. If you guys want to start off moving them always to the left, just until you get the hang of things, we can. So I've got a 6K on the left, my 2K is on the right. My 2K is the one I need to move if I want my variable terms to end up on the left. So the way that I'm going to move that 2K is the same way I would move it if it was just a 2. Because it's positive, I can see in the front there's no negative, I'm going to subtract it from both sides. I'm going to subtract the entire term. I'm going to subtract 2K from both sides. When I subtract 2K from 2K, I get 0. So now let's simplify what we've got on each side. On the left, 6K minus 2K is 4K. We also have that minus 3, so we're going to bring it down. Bring down your equal sign, and then bring down the 13 on the right. Now this looks like a two-step equation, which by now we should be starting to get a little bit better with. So, since my variables are now on the left, I'm going to move my constants to the right. So what I need to move over is that minus 3. The opposite of minus 3 is plus 3, so we're going to add 3 to both sides. When I add 3 to a minus 3, I get 0. Let's bring down what's left. We've got 4K on the left equals 13 plus 3 is 16 on the right. The last step in trying to get my variable by itself is to get rid of the 4, that coefficient that's connected to it through multiplication. So we're going to undo that by division. We're going to divide both sides by that 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 1 times k is just k. And 16 divided by 4 on the right is 4. So there's my solution. If at any point while we're solving these you're like, hey, I know what to do, that's when you just pause the video and you do it so you get that little bit of confidence in yourself so that you can prove to yourself, hey, I can do some of this, and then press play and just make sure that you did it correctly. Normally in class, that's kind of how I would do things. All right, this one's a lot like example 6, so this would be a great time to pause it and try it if you feel good. If not, just keep paying attention. So step 1, distribute if we have parentheses, no parentheses. Step 2, simplify both sides. 9m and 7m, those aren't like terms, so the left side can't be combined any further or simplified any further. Same with the right side, I got a variable term and a constant. Those cannot be combined because they're not like, so step 2 I don't have to do. Step 3, move all my variable terms to one side. If you guys want to make sure all the m's are on the left, then that 3m we've got to move over to the left. Because in front of my 3m, there's nothing, it's a positive. So to get rid of it, I'm going to subtract 3m from both sides. ignore this minus after the 3m. That minus goes with the 5, not the 3m. So subtract 3m from both sides. When I subtract 3m from 3m, I get 0. Let's bring down what's left. On the left, 9m minus 3m is 6m. Make sure that you're combining these two terms and not combining the negative 3m with 7. They have to be like terms. Bring down the plus 7 equals, bring down that negative 5. Alright, this might be a good place to pause it and try to do it on your own if you'd like. Now that all of our m's are on the left, we've got to move our constants to the right. So that plus 7, I'm going to move to the right by subtracting both sides by 7. Negative 7 from a positive 7 is 0. Let's bring down what we have. We have 6m on the left. Bring down your equals. Negative 5 and a negative 7 together make negative 12. Last step, get rid of that coefficient by dividing both sides by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times m is m. Equals, on the right, negative 12 divided by 6 is negative 2. There's your solution. All right. This example has fractions. Don't let it scare you. The process is the same. And because our fractions have like denominators, it shouldn't be too terrible. All right, step 1, distribute if you have parentheses. Nope. Step 2, clean up each side. Left side is cleaned up. Right side is cleaned up. Step 3, move all your variable terms to one side. So we've got 2/5 in on the left, negative 3/5 in on the right. If I want to move them to the left, I need to move that negative 3/5 in. Because it's a negative 3/5 in, I'm going to add it to both sides, the entire term. Okay? When I add 3/5 in to a negative 3/5 in, it goes away. Now watch what happens here. It's pretty cool. On the left, 2/5 in plus 3/5 in. They have the same denominator. So all I have to do is add their numerators. Add the 2 and the 3. 2 plus 3 makes 5. My denominator is 5. So I've got 5/5 in. Bring down that minus 9. Equals 7 on the right. Now, 5/5 is the same as 1. So technically this is 1 in. And remember, I don't even need to put the 1. So what I really have is just in. This is a very simple one-step equation now that I have left. So my variables are on the left. We're going to move our constants to the right. The constant that we need to move to the right is at minus 9. We're going to move it by adding 9 to both sides. When I add 9 to a negative 9, I get 0. So I've got just in on the left, which is what I want, and 7 plus 9 is 16. So your solution here is 16. All right, example 9. All right, step 1, no parentheses. Step 2, each side is cleaned up or simplified. Step 3, move my variable terms to one side. If we want to move the p's to the left, that 4p we need to move to the left. Because it's positive 4p, I'm going to subtract 4p from both sides. When I subtract 4p from 4p, I get 0. Let's bring down what's left. On the left, I've got 8. I got to combine these two guys. Negative 2p combined with another negative 4p is going to be negative 6p. Bring down your equals. Bring down the negative 10 on the right. Pay close attention to your negatives here. All right, all our p's are on the left. So we're going to move all our constants to the right. We need to move the 8 to the right. Because it's a positive 8, I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. When I subtract 8 from positive 8, I get 0. Let's bring down what's left. I've got a negative 6p on the left equals, on the right, negative 10 minus 8 is negative 18. When you combine two negatives, it stays negative. Last step, get rid of that negative 6 coefficient. I'm going to get rid of it by dividing both sides by negative 6. When I divide negative 6 by negative 6, I get positive 1. 1 times p is p. And on the right, negative 18 divided by negative 6 is a positive 3. There's my solution. All right, step 10, draw your line. Distribute if you have parentheses, no parentheses. Step 2, clean up each side. The left side's cleaned up because 8c and 1 are unlike terms. On the right, though, I have two like terms. I've got 7c and negative 2c. I can combine those two. Positive 7c, negative 2c combines to make 5c. Positive 5c. We also need to bring down that minus 14. Equals. On the left, I still have 8c plus 1. All right, step 3, move all your variable terms to one side. Let's move them to the left, just to stay consistent. To move the 5c to the left, because it's positive 5c, I'm going to subtract 5c from both sides to move that entire term over. When I subtract 5c from 5c, we get 0. On the left, 8c minus 5c is 3c plus 1 equals, bring down the negative 14. Now we've got a two-step equation. Our variables are on the left. We're going to move our constants to the right. The constant we need to move over is the plus 1. We're going to move it over by subtracting 1 on both sides. When I subtract 1 from 1, I get 0. Let's bring down what's left. We've got 3c on the left equals, on the right, negative 14 and a negative 1 combine to make a negative 15. Last step is to get rid of that coefficient of 3 that's in front of the c. We're going to get rid of that by dividing both sides by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 1 times c is c, and that's equals, and I'm going over here because I ran out of room, negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. So these last two examples are kind of putting all the steps together. So let's see what that might look like. If you can do these, you can do them all, man. You can do every step. So step 1, distribute if I have parentheses. We do have parentheses. The number in front with its sign is a negative 7. So we're going to distribute that to the t and to the 1. Remember, distribute means to multiply. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll bring everything else down. On the left, we still have the 5. Here, let me write it a little smaller. I might need a little bit more room. All right, let's distribute. Negative 7 times t, negative 7t. Now we're going to do negative 7 times positive 1. That's negative 7. So when you're writing down a negative term, you can just write the negative as a subtraction symbol. Equals. On the right, we still have negative 10t plus 3. All right, on my t's, notice I put a little tail on them so they don't look like pluses. All right, step 2, clean up each side. On the left side, I can combine my 5 with my negative 7. These are my two constants. Those will combine, if I add them together, to make a negative 2. Let's bring everything else down. I still have that negative 7t equals negative 10t plus 3. All right. Step 3, move all of your variable terms to one side. Let's move them to the left, just like we've been doing. The variable term we need to move to the left is that negative 10t on the right. So to move that, I'm going to add, which is the opposite of negative. Add 10t to both sides. When I add 10t to negative 10t, that makes 0. Let's bring down what's left. On the left, I've got negative 2. When I combine negative 7t and positive 10t, that equals positive 3t. Equals 3 on the right. Now that all of our variable terms are on the left, we need to move all of our constants to the right. So we're going to move over that negative 2 by adding 2 to both sides. When I add 2 to a negative 2, that makes 0. So when we bring down what's left, we've got 3t on the left equals 3 plus 2 is 5 on the right. The last thing we need to do is get rid of our coefficient of 3. And I'm going to get rid of a coefficient by dividing both sides by that number, by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 1 times t is t equals 5 divided by 3 gives us a decimal, so let's just leave it as a simplified fraction. 5/3. All right, almost done. All right, number 12. Got a lot of things going on, but we can do this. Step 1, distribute if we have parentheses. We actually have 2 sets of parentheses. On the left, we're distributing a positive 2, to the k and to the 4. On the right, we're distributing a positive 5 to this k and to this negative 3. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like when we distribute. On the left, we have our 5. Now let's distribute the 2. 2 times k is positive 2k. 2 times 4 is positive 8. Equal sign. On the right, 5 times k is 5k. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. And then the plus 10. Alright, step 2 is to clean up each side of the equal sign. On the left side, I can combine this 5 and this 8. Those combine to make 13. 13. Bring down the plus 2k equals. On the right, I can combine the negative 15 with the positive 10. That makes negative 5. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get my colors right. And then bring down that 5k. Alright, next step. Step 3, move all your variable terms to one side. So if I want to move that 5k to the left side, because it's positive, I can subtract both sides by 5k. When I subtract 5k from 5k, I get 0. So on the left, we're going to bring down the 13. And then when I combine the positive 2k with the negative 5k, I get negative 3k. Bring down your equal sign, negative 5 on the right. Make sure you're always bringing down that sign with that term. Since all of our variable terms are on the left, all our k's are on the left, we're going to move all of our constants or numbers to the right. Since 13 is positive, I'm going to subtract 13 from both sides. When I subtract 13 from 13, I get 0. So on the left, I've got a negative 3k equals, on the right, negative 5 and a negative 13 make a negative 18. Last step, get rid of that coefficient of negative 3 in front of the k by doing the opposite of multiplication, which is division. We're going to divide both sides by that negative 3. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is positive 1. 1 times k is k. Write it over here. Negative 18 divided by negative 3 is positive 6. Okay, hopefully you were able to write down some questions you had. We will go over those in class. Good luck. See you then.